You ready? Yep. Okay. We were talking about the meeting at the school, and I think the jury's heard a lot about that meeting, okay? So I'm going to fast forward. You go back to work, right?
Yeah.
We saw the exhibit of you walking back in.
Correct.
Okay. We heard Amanda Holland testify about how she gives you some advice. Do you recall her giving you advice?
I don't.
Is she somebody you go to for advice?
No.
Why not?
We were never like friends outside of work, and she was Andy's administrative assistant, so it was just formalities really with her. We didn't really have anything in common. Her child was real young, I had a teenager.
Okay. All right, I want to go to the time where you heard there was an open shooter. The jury's already heard how you heard about that, okay? And we know you got in your car, you drove up to Oxford, right?
Correct.
Okay. We heard about the description of that caravan. Did you see that caravan?
Yeah, I joined it. It's a black SUV, and that was my fastest way to get to the school.
Okay, so you actually were a part of that with all the law enforcement officers all headed up.
Yep, I just kind of jumped in.
What is that, Lapeer Road?
It started on 75. I work at Square Lake and Telegraph, so I got 75 from Square Lake there. And it was well before the M24 exit. I would say about a quarter of a mile. It was tractors backed up.
Okay. Now, you sent a text, and if you need to see it, let me know. You sent a text to your son that says, "You can talk to us." Why did you send him that?
After I left the meeting, I knew that he was sad about things, and I just wanted to let him know that he can talk to us about anything. Just wanted to make sure I opened that door. Just let him know that we're there for him. We love him.
Okay, and he said he loved you. Do you recall that?
I do.
Okay, was there anything unusual about that?
Yeah, he's at that age where it was hard to get I love yous back out of him. For me to open my text and just see him randomly saying I love you was abnormal for him.
Okay, did you think anything at that point?
No, not right at that point. I think I said text back I love you too. I don't remember. I believe I did. Yeah.
Okay, and later in the thread, you say, don't do it. So when you hear there's an open shooter at the school, I want to know in your mind, what do you believe is happening?
Well, my husband had called me when I was still at work, and he said there's an active shooter at Oxford High School and I can't get a hold of Ethan. And that's when I opened my phone and I saw the I love you text. And then I texted him, are you okay? In the process of it, I was getting my stuff and running out the door, letting my boss know that I had to go to my son's school. It was on 75 when I was trying to get to the exit that my husband called me and he asked me where I hid the bullets, and I told him, and then he said the gun is missing. So instantly, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got the gun. I didn't actually think he was at the school shooting it. I thought maybe he walked home and got the gun and was in the field by the school. I didn't imagine my son actually going into a school and shooting. And then when we got more updates, I was like, oh my gosh, he's a school shooter. He's going to kill himself, because in my mind, that's what school shooters have done. They've killed themselves after. So I yelled in my talk to text, Ethan, don't do it, because I thought he was going to kill himself.
At that point, did you think Ethan had killed anyone?
No, I didn't even think he shot anyone at that point.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Did you believe he injured anyone or shot anyone, did anything?
No. I thought he was going to kill himself.
Okay. So you find out the gun's missing, so you do think he's got the gun, but is going to turn it on himself.
Right.
Okay. So where did you, at that point you went to the substation? I think we saw the video.
Yeah, my husband had called me when I got close to the house, and he said the substation just called and they want us to come down there. They have my son. And so I picked him up on the way and we drove to the substation together.
When you say picked him up, picked who up? My son was in custody, basically, the substation. Right, so who did you pick up?
I picked up my husband, I'm sorry.
Okay, you picked up James. Okay, what was going through your mind at this point, going from picking James up to the substation?
I don't know. I asked my husband, I was like, is he alive? And he said, oh no, we're going down there. I didn't really know what to think. I was kind of it was kind of hazy. It was kind of, everything was a little surreal. I still didn't believe that he actually shot anybody or was in the school. I just knew that there was gunfire. I didn't know the extent of it at all.
So when you're at the substation, did you asked them about fatalities? We saw it on there.
That wasn't at the site. Oh yeah, I did.
Okay, but you didn't get an answer, right?
No.
At that point, were you thinking that anyone was injured or that anyone was hurt?
He did say there was injuries, and at that point, my mind went to, we can handle injuries. We can handle injuries. I went into kind of like go mode, like what do we have to do? My son's arrested. I did not think there would be any fatalities.
You didn't think there would be any injuries?
No, I didn't think there would be injuries. I didn't think there'd be anything, but I just went into that mode. Like, we can handle injuries, and we can figure this out and go from there.
Okay. We saw the interview at the substation.
Yes.
I'm not going to go through all that with you, okay? After that, you go to your house. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the next thing, police are at your door.
We were at the house for a minute, and we were putting some hot water on the oven, on the stove. My husband walked out back to the side of the house. I saw him walk towards the end of the driveway through my kitchen window. I was sitting in my kitchen on my phone talking to my dad, and I realized my husband was gone for a little bit longer. I didn't see him walk back, so I walked out the front door of my house.
And what'd you see?
There was a bunch of officers with guns drawn on me.
Have you ever been in that position before?
No, I have not.
What did you think when that happened?
I don't know. I remember just dropping my phone and putting my hands up and then being handcuffed. It all happened so fast. It was shocking.
Okay, we saw you sit in the car with James with the handcuffs, right?
Correct.
So we don't need to go through all that.
No.
After that, we saw a video where you're sitting in the car and you talk to police for a long time. There's a lot of long pauses in it, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to go through that whole video right now, okay? But if there's something you need, you can let me know. During the substation meeting, while you're with Joe Bryan,
Judge, this is direct examination.
I'm asking a question. I'm just putting us in a space. I'm going to ask a non-leading question. Okay. So we all can see that you are using your phone while you are speaking to law enforcement. I want to know what you're doing on your phone. It's not leading.
What were you
And
doing
the
on
whole
your phone?
jury can hear you constantly saying
What were you doing on your phone?
First I was looking for the paper to show the officer that was sitting next to me. The first one I pulled up, I couldn't get to zoom in, so I had to search through my emails for the other one to get that pulled up. Once I got my phone back, I'm pretty sure I was going through the massive amount of text messages and Facebook messages I was receiving from family and friends asking if my son was okay, because at this point in time nobody knew anything. I was also messaging with my my boss, who happens to be an attorney, trying to get his advice on what to do. I was on my phone, I'm not going to deny it. I was probably looking at text messages and Facebook messages and just trying to get updates on anything.
Is that the same or different when you're in the back of the patrol car?
What do you mean?
There's a point where you're in the patrol car by yourself.
Right.
Okay, you've got your phone. Tell us what you're doing on your phone at that point.
I know I was messaging with my dad a lot because I had dropped the phone when I was talking to him and I got arrested, so I was filling him in what was going on. I was also messaging immediate family members and close friends that my son was okay, but he was the shooter. So that's mainly what I was doing.
What was your state of mind like at that time?
I don't know. It was pretty numb. I didn't really believe. I had a hard time. I don't know. I was numb. I didn't really believe like everything was happening the way it was. It was surreal. My mind was in all different places.
Okay, so when did you find out there were fatalities?
In the back of the car when I was by myself, and I asked the officer, and he told me there was 4 fatalities.
That's on the video.
Yes.
I'm not going to ask you questions about that, okay? All I can hear is object, and it's very distracting. I would ask them to write notes or something because it's very distracting.
Okay, I can't hear them, but just try and keep your voices down, please.
I didn't see the word object.
Okay.
Okay.
We're not saying object.
Okay. Well, she can
Okay, so this is the time where you find out there's fatalities. I'm gonna move on to a different topic. On your cell phone, do you have a habit of deleting messages?
Usually it's threads.
Okay, explain to the jury what you do, because go ahead and explain.
Well, on Facebook, I do a lot of Facebook Marketplace, so I get a lot of messages.
What's Facebook Marketplace?
Where you buy and sell things. So the first main screen of my phone will get clogged up with Marketplace messages, so I'll just delete threads to my main people come up that I talk to on a regular basis. If that starts getting full, I delete those threads too. Same thing with text messages. I delete threads until the main people I talk to are up on the main screen, so I don't have to scroll down to find them.
Okay, so is that a habit that you started that day, that month? When did you start doing this deleting texts thing?
Pretty much when I got a cell phone. I've always done that.
Okay. Did you go out of your way, in this case, to delete like certain messages?
Not intentionally, no.
And so when there's a message they say you deleted that indicates the gun was locked, do you recall deleting that message?
No, I completely forgot I sent that message.
Or unsending it, I'm sorry.
No, I don't remember.
Okay, there's another message that is unsent talking about we did everything right, that kind of thing. Do you recall unsending that message?
No.
Okay. So when law enforcement got found that there was a lot of deleted content, does that surprise you in any way?
No.
And you don't dispute, you've seen a lot of text message threads that have been admitted. You agree those were a lot of the messages going on, is that right?
Right.
And a lot of those are what were deleted.
Correct.
Okay. So after you're interviewed, there was a point where the police tell you and James you guys need to leave the house, is that right?
Yes.
Where did you guys go?
We went up to the first time we ended up going to the Holiday Inn Express and sitting in the parking lot trying to figure out what was going on, waiting for them to call us.
Was there a point you had to go back to the house?
Yes, they called us to come back to the house.
Did you know why you're going back?
They told us that the search was over and they just wanted us to come back to the house.
Okay, so when you got back to the house, what happened?
We went into the house and then the detective asked for our cell phones.
And were you reluctant about giving over your cell phone?
Yes, I was.
Okay, why is that?
Sounds bad, but my life is in my cell phone, my contacts are in my cell phone, everything I need is in my cell phone. I don't memorize phone numbers, I have an emergency going on, and they're taking my only means of contact away from me.
Okay, there was a suggestion to go get burner phones or track phones, prepaid phones.
Correct.
Did you do that?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so there was evidence, you went to Walmart in Lapeer, does that sound right?
Yep.
And we saw the receipts. There's been a lot of text messages about threats. Tell the jury about what you were receiving.
We were receiving so many threats on let me back up. On our new track phones, in my Facebook Messenger, there was a ton of threats. I wasn't getting text threats on my new track phone because I had my number, but my Facebook Messenger was blowing up with threats. Once I got into my email account, that was blowing up with threats. People found my realtor.com profile that I hadn't had for years and were sending me messages through that. I had people sending me screenshots of text threats they found that I didn't know about.
How were you feeling at this point?
I was feeling pretty scared.
Okay, scared of what?
Well, scared that somebody might hurt us.
Okay. At that point, did you ever go back home?
This is the first time, right?
I'm talking after you bought the track
Oh,
phones.
no, we went to the hotel in Lapeer.
Okay. So you go to the hotel in Lapeer, and then how long did you stay there?
Just one night.
Okay, so that was the night of
The 30th.
the 30th. Okay. What did you do on the 1st?
We woke up. I knew I had to make arrangements. I had a senior dog and 2 cats still at the house. I didn't know what to do with. My neighbor was sending me updates, letting me know that there was still media around my house. that my house had multiple random pizza deliveries that people were calling in. So I had to get dog food for our dog, and I met her at the actually in the church parking lot behind Red Naps that afternoon to give her the food.
Okay, and I believe that we've heard about that and saw the GPS stuff. Did you go to any banks?
Not on that day.
Okay, did you go anytime that week?
Yes.
All right, why were you going to banks?
When all this unfolded and we found out that it was my son that was a shooter, I get a lot of advice from my dad. My dad's been involved in some civil suits before. He told me that there's probably going to be a lot of lawsuits, and they're going to try to take your assets. And I didn't really have any assets. The bank owned my house, the bank owned my cars, and all I had was the cash in my bank. And he said they could freeze your account. So I went and withdrew money from my account. My dad also deposited extra money in my account during that time to give to us, help us retain a lawyer, which I withdrew as well.
Okay, so you withdrew that money. Did you withdraw anything from an account that had Ethan's name on it?
We transferred money from that savings account to our account.
Okay, explain that account. I know it says Ethan's name on it. Is anyone else listed on the account?
No, it's a Simply Kids savings account through Flagstar Bank. So he opened it with $200. I don't think he really had any more than $100 left after things he wanted to buy, but I transfer money from my check into that account, so we kind of use it as a savings account too.
Okay, did you leave any money in that account?
If we did, it was very little.
Okay. So on December 1st, we heard testimony already that your son was charged. You watched online. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. We heard on the 1st, did you guys stay at the hotel in Lapeer, or did you go somewhere else?
No, we went to the extended stay in Auburn Hills.
Okay. Why is that?
Probably for the cheapest rates, and it was a decent hotel. Not any other reason why.
Okay. So how long did you end up staying at the extended stay in Auburn Hills?
We ended up staying there for 2 days.
Okay. And then we've heard testimony that charges were going to be announced at some point. Did you know when charges would be announced?
No. I was kind of following the news articles, trying to get updates. My cousin was sending me a lot of texts, saying, I think they're going to charge you too. We didn't think I would get charged. Maybe my husband, because the gun was in his name. So we had an awareness of it, but I don't think it really actually set in that it was going to happen until it did.
Okay. So we heard testimony that on December 3rd, you end up at an art studio. Explain to us what was the hotel? Extended stay in Auburn Hills.
Correct.
Okay. Tell us all where you went. How do you get from that hotel to the art studio in Detroit, and why? Give us the rundown.
So we ended up going to Owasso to get our normal cell phones. We couldn't shut down accounts.
Why couldn't you shut down accounts?
Because the two-factor authentication. So I was sending a text message to my old phone number that I didn't have. So I had my employer yelling at me to shut down my LinkedIn account, my Instagram account, because I had my employer's name all over it. So we had to get our cell phones with our old numbers on it to get that back.
Were you trying to deactivate Facebook and stuff too?
I was trying. Well, I already deactivated Facebook. My husband needed to deactivate his Facebook. I had to deactivate LinkedIn and Instagram, and I couldn't get into my email on my burner phone because of that two-factor authentication code thing.
Okay, so you guys went to Owasso and got what?
We got regular cell phones with our old numbers on it.
Okay. Then what?
That's when Andre, my friend, called.
Is there any reason you went to Owasso to get those phones?
Yeah, we didn't feel safe in the local area.
Okay, so you drove like the hour they tested. Okay. All right, so then what?
So my friend Andre, who owns the art studio, called and was checking in to see how we were doing, and he wanted to stop by our hotel. It was the night of the 2nd. So he actually came to our hotel that night, and he invited us to come to his art studio the next day just to be around a friend, he wanted to buy us sandwiches. He wanted to show us art studio. He was just a really nice guy that was just offering a friendship during that time when we didn't know what was going on. So that's how we ended up going to the art studio.
Okay, how did you get to the art studio?
I drove.
Okay, drove what?
I drove my car, and my husband left our other car at the hotel.
Okay, so we've heard about how one car is like left at this hotel. That's because you guys went together to
Correct.
Detroit.
Correct.
Okay. Did you know you were going to get charged at that point?
We had heard they might announce charges sometime that day.
Okay, but I want to know, did you know you were definitely being charged at that point?
Oh, no.
Okay, so you tell us what happened when you got to the art studio. I think we saw him show you where to park. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Why did you park where you parked?
I was parking close to the dumpster, and he told me to move away from the dumpster because people like to throw stuff out there. So I moved. He showed me where to park. So I wasn't taking anybody's parking space or blocking the dumpster or any of that.
Okay, so then what did you guys do that day?
He showed us around the building, and then we went to the art studio. Andre had a business meeting, I think at 11 o'clock that day, and so he left the building for a little bit. He came back after charges were announced, so he came back when we found out we were getting charged. He brought sandwiches back. At that point in time,
How were you feeling at that point when you found out you're getting charged?
just freaked out. I've never been charged anything in my life.
Okay, so you've never been charged with a crime like this?
Like this, correct.
Okay, of this magnitude.
Correct.
All right. So okay, so you know you're charged, or you know that they want you. What was your plan at that point?
Well, I was in touch with my attorney.
Me.
You, and I was taking your advice that we're going to turn ourselves in
When were you planning to turn yourself in?
the next day, so it would be Saturday morning.
Okay, why was that?
That's when the Novi court was doing arraignments that day.
Okay, so on Friday, the whole afternoon, you know you're being charged. That afternoon, what was your plan at that point? Or what were you doing at that point?
I was debating whether or not to go back to Auburn Hills and stay at the extended stay. And I think this is before we even knew there was a manhunt out for us.
Okay, Your Honor, may I approach the witness with the defense exhibit, proposed exhibit A? The prosecution has received it.
No objection.
Do you object to submission? Okay, thank you. Okay, A is admitted. Can you tell the jury what that document shows?
It's a Priceline.com travel itinerary, year trip from December 1st.
Okay.
Last visited 12/3/2021.
Okay, so when you're, on 12/3, are there also searches for another hotel?
I think so. Yeah, there's a Priceline checkout, Auburn Hills, 12/4, 12/5, so I think I was looking at for those dates.
So you were planning to, is it fair to say then you're looking for a hotel?
Objection deleting.
Sustain.
All right, so that exhibit, what does it tell you about your plans for 4/4 to 4/5?
To be in Auburn Hills, extended stay.
Okay, what is Priceline?
It's an app where you can get last minute hotel deals.
Do you agree these are your searches?
Yeah, I'm always on Priceline.
Okay. Ultimately, on the night of the 3rd, were you aware on Friday afternoon if you could go into court that afternoon? What was your awareness?
I was not aware that we could go into court that afternoon. I was just waiting on direction from you to what we're going to do the following day and turning ourselves in.
All right. So the prosecution showed lots of pictures of the art studio. We agree. That's what it looks like, right?
Right.
Okay. Did you guys sleep on that mattress that night?
Yeah, we did. It was actually in the hallway, a common hallway the business shared, and we pulled it into the art studio and slept on it that night.
Okay. Did you, the prosecution showed receipts and supplies that were bought, things like that. Who went to the store and did that?
My friend went to the store. We gave him a list, and he picked up things for us.
Okay. Why didn't you go to the police department? This is so distracting. I'm having a really hard time. I can move maybe and ask.
Okay, try not to talk.
Okay. So who bought those supplies?
My friend did.
Okay. Why didn't you and James just go on your own to the police department and turn yourselves in?
Because we didn't feel it'd be safe.
Okay. Why is that?
Just the fact that the entire community and Michigan knew that we were expected to turn ourselves in at the police department, so they would know where to go.
Okay. And so that night, what did you and James sleep there?
We did.
What time did you go to bed? What happened? Just really quickly.
I want to say it was after 11, maybe around 11 o'clock when we finally went to bed. We both, I'm prescribed Xanax for anxiety, and we each took 4 because we knew we were going to turn ourselves in the next day, and we hadn't slept in 4 days, and we just wanted to sleep.
Okay, so you each took 4.
We did.
Okay, and so the next thing, the next piece of evidence we saw was them coming into that art studio. Do you recall that?
I recall my husband screaming, and there was people with guns again in our face, officers.
What were you doing prior to hearing your husband screaming?
We were sleeping.
Okay. Were you aware there was anything going on?
No, I was not.
Okay. We saw the video, so we don't need to go through all of that. And the prosecution admitted, I'm going to put it up on the screen, People's Exhibit 150, and I just want to verify with you. I'm sorry, can you turn it on actually? Okay, do you see it on your screen?
I do.
Okay, what is that?
That's an alarm we set for, or I set for the next morning.
For Saturday morning?
For Saturday morning, correct.
Okay, do you recall why you set it for 6:30, 6:45? Is there 2 alarms or 1?
Yeah, there's 2.
Okay, why did you set those alarms?
Because we were going to wake up and drive to the Novi courthouse and meet you there by 8:30.
Okay, and what was your plan there? What was going to be your plan when you got to Novi?
We were going to be arraigned.
Okay, now, there was
Everything's still
evidence.
up.
Oh, whoops. There was evidence that your purse and belongings were found in totes there. Do you remember seeing all those pictures?
I do.
Okay, tell the jury why those were, your purse and personal effects were in those bins.
I didn't know if we were going to jail. I didn't know if we were going to be bonded out. I didn't know what was going to happen, so I had told my friend where I left my purse and my backpack, where I did have pretty much all my money in it, to grab those the next day, or when he's at the studio. He's not usually there on the weekend, so I put them in the totes just for extra precaution.
In some of the messages the prosecution admitted, you say that you failed as a parent. Are you a failure as a parent?
I don't think I'm a failure as a parent, but at that time, I guess I felt bad that Ethan was sad at those things, and I guess I don't know, I just felt like I failed somewhere. I don't really know how to describe it. It's just that point in time, I just kind of felt like somewhere I failed.
Do you believe there was anything, do you believe that you knew or had reason to know your son was a danger to anyone else?
No. As a parent, you spend your whole life trying to protect your child from other dangers. You never would think you have to protect your child from harming somebody else. That's what blew my mind. that was the hardest thing I had to stomach, is that my child harmed and killed other people.
Do you believe there were things you were thinking at the time, I should do this, but I'm not doing it? Do you look back and think that?
No, I don't. I mean, of course I look back after this all happened, and I've asked myself if I would have done anything differently, and I wouldn't have.
If you could change what happened, would you?
Oh, absolutely. I wish he would have killed us instead.
Over the last 26 months, has this been stressful for you?
It's been very stressful. Yes,
Have you had a range of emotions?
I've had a lot of emotions.
Are you trying to, do you believe you are the victim here?
I don't want to say that I'm a victim, because I do not want to disrespect those families that truly are the victims on this. But we did lose a lot.
Okay. You've lost everything.
We did.
I'm gonna have you, come back tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning. Alright, the mom's looking for the natural break. I need to instruct you, during the trial, do not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about the case. Under the law, the evidence you must consider to decide the case must meet certain standards. For example, witnesses must swear to tell the truth, and the lawyers must be able to cross-examine them. Because news reports do not have to meet these standards, they could give you incorrect or misleading information that might unfairly favor one side. So to be fair to both sides, you must follow this instruction. Do not go on social media, do not post, do not go on Facebook, do not do research, do not discuss the case with anyone, do not watch the news, do not read a newspaper. You guys have been really great, and we appreciate it. Alright, so I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30.
All rise for the jury.
I will let the jury go right now so that I can ask if there's anything. You can sit.
Is it okay if she comes out?
Yeah, she can step down. You can be seated. This is not the jury though, so at least 3 minutes. You're going to do cross tomorrow
Yes.
morning. And then do you know what you're going to do next?
I don't. Your Honor, my client and I have a number of witnesses on our list,
Okay.
and to be quite frank, I'm gonna go to meet with her,
Okay.
or I have arrangements to meet with her.
Okay.
I have opinions about what we should do. I know that our opinions have not matched, and so we need to have some discussions.
Okay.
I just don't know who I'm gonna be calling based on that. But the prosecution has my list.
Okay.
It's the same as it's been, nothing's changed.
Okay.
I actually have 2 names I can give them that I know I'm not gonna call.
Okay.
Judge, shortly before trial, the people filed a notice of intent to admit something should the defense counsel assert a privilege, that privilege being attorney-client communication. Questions asked of the defendant, I believe, caused a revisiting of that ruling.
Okay. You know what?
Meaning that there was a thumbnail photograph recovered off of the defendant's phone from a time period where the police were on scene at 1111 Bellevue in Detroit. The defendant has testified that she was waiting to hear for instructions from Ms. Smith. She can't testify to any communications between herself and her attorney without waiving the privilege. That privilege has been waived. We should be now entitled to explore what that text message was. The timing of it was very important, especially considering the timing of the 911 call in Detroit, as well as the timing of the fugitive team's arrival in Detroit, and the timing of the arrest of the defendants.
Are you talking about the text that I already saw?
Yes, Judge.
The 2-word text?
Now, but the issue is, when it was seen, it was immediately closed because it was recognized as potential.
Okay, I understand that. I guess I'm asking you to be more specific without me being more specific.
Well, there were 3 texts, not 2 words.
Okay, no, is that what I saw already?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess a few things come to mind. When I received that, we had a previous motion about this. It's unclear to me whose phone that was. That's just one thing among many other issues.
Right, we can't explore it if it's a potential attorney-client communication, so it was never investigated. That's why we brought it to the court's attention and counsel's attention immediately.
Your
And that's
Honor,
after consultation actually with the Michigan State Bar Ethics Hotline.
Well, one of the reasons I asked you that is because I know there were 4 phones from there, and 2 of the phones didn't have specific numbers. I don't know if that came from one of the phones that specifically belonged to one of the defendants.
Yes, the answer to that question